For this fan-tucking-fastic episode of Basically Detectives, we're going to be talking about episode 5 of I Am a Killer. Howdy lambs, another week, another episode of Basically Detectives, the show where we don't tell you the whole story, we just summarize it for you, because you are supposed to come here and watch it with us. Well, I guess we're not summarizing it, so I personally have decided to leave details out of the story. That way, if you say, well, wait a minute, what's he talking about? If you have to say that, that means you didn't watch the episode with us. Shame on you. Before I go into all the details, as usual, please go to our patreon.com/loveandmurder. You can join our tier for as low as $1. You can also go to murderandlove.com, where you can touch base with our SOS system. You can also look at our awesome merch. And with the SOS system, please, I'm begging you, use it. Say hi. Tell us how you're doing. Give us episode ideas. Whatever you have to do, do it on the SOS system. You're contractually obligated to use the SOS system if you're listening to my voice right now. You don't remember signing that contract with your own blood, but believe me, you did. I was there. I saw it happen. Anyway, this episode was a lot better than the last episode. If any of you guys are following along week to week, you know that I was not a huge fan of last episode. This one was a lot more intriguing. The actual production value of the episode felt better to me. I actually really enjoyed it. It came with yet another conundrum of, what do you do when X, Y, and Z happens? The big thing about this episode was Charles Thompson. He went and attacked his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend, killed the boyfriend, fatally, well, I wouldn't say fatally. He greatly wounded his ex-girlfriend. She was still alive by the time she got picked up in the ambulance, by the time the ambulance arrived. So, the thing is, though, when the doctors were operating on her to remove the bullet, or well, I don't know if they were trying to remove a bullet. They were at least trying to repair her face, because she got shot in the face. They do say, Charles, or Chuck as we're going to call him from here on out, Chuck does mention, supposedly, this is coming from the person who shot her, mind you, he says that what happened to her wasn't fatal, and they let her sit for several hours before operating on her. It wasn't like she came in with a gunshot to the chest, and they were like, oh no, put her in the ER stat! You know, no one did that. Operate on her right now. She has negative 10 minutes till... No one did that. Supposedly, she got there. She was fine enough that they could wait. But the way that they kind of situated her in preparation for surgery, for operating on her, when the doctors left the room to prepare, she somehow... Her tube slipped, or it wasn't aligned properly. Somehow, some way, she suffocated. She didn't get enough air. And I think they said the time frame was anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes. She didn't get enough air, and she was considered brain dead due to lack of oxygen. Meanwhile, her family's been told, oh, the surgery is no big deal. You know, she might have trouble speaking for a while. There might be some scarring. And then, you know, you turn around, and hours later, now it goes from, it's going to be okay, to she essentially is no longer alive. Technically, yes, she is alive, but when you're brain dead, you're not really living, you're just kind of existing. So, that was horrible. I was watching the episode, and her brother was telling a good portion of the story, and you could tell it's something that he's come to terms with. It's a situation that he lived through, and it's in his past. Obviously, he cares about his sister, but he does mention that he feels bad because he was the one that told everybody, hey, the doctor said, no big deal, she'll be fine, and then the next thing they know, she's not fine. So that's why operations are scary. You know, doctors are people too. They make mistakes. They can make bad judgment calls. They can be wrong. You know, especially when you have multiple doctors. I know somebody who needed to have surgery. I don't think it was an emergency surgery. It was more of like a repair and cleanup kind of surgery. But even that required about 3 surgeons to kind of just be there and keep everything kind of situated and correct. Now, moving on to Chuck himself. Chuck's a weird dude, I gotta admit. When I first heard what he was saying about crime and how it happened, I kind of sort of felt for him. I was like, that sucks. You know, he went there to probably cause trouble. Didn't seem like he intended to hurt anybody. And then all of a sudden he had to whip out a gun and defend himself. That's what I gathered from his original telling of the story. He claims that he didn't mean to hurt anybody. But then as we kind of listen to more people tell their side of the story, you know, we hear the jury, a couple of the jury members talk, you know, the ex-girlfriend's brother speaks up, we find out that Chuck wanted to kill his friends who he had, confessed to. He went to his friend, I think her name was Diane. He went to his friend, we're just going to call her Diane for now. He went to his friend Diane's house and told her what happened, and next thing you know, in the episode, one of the jury, he's got a tape of an undercover cop posing as a hitman going to Chuck's cell to talk to him, or the visitation area, whatever you want to call it, going to talk to him, and is like, hey, do you want me to kill these people for you? Oh yeah, just go and kill these people. Kill Diane, here's her address, here's her background. She's a mother. She lives in this neighborhood off of this highway. I'm like, really? Really? This is your master plan? Okay. It's not... the episode implies that, at least I took it as implying that he wanted to kill multiple people using hitmen. I don't know if it was just Diane. I don't know if he really did want to kill everybody he confessed to. I can't remember off the top of my head. How is it going to seem when the witnesses in your case are all dead? You know what I mean? How is that supposed to look on you? If the episode was actually, Chuck was about to be just reamed by the court, but then all of his eyewitnesses and all the people he confessed to suddenly died, you're like, well, isn't that something? Isn't that real convenient for Chuck? I wonder if he did something to cause that to happen. That's where we would be right now if that was the case. So this guy wasn't too bright. Apparently he also escaped jail once and just ran around for a few days, but then got drunk and disorderly and got found and taken. I don't know. That didn't seem very smart. The dude clearly has a way of manipulating people and to seem very charming, because he got it, like I say, he busted out of his cell. I kind of sort of felt sympathy for him at first until I found out he was lying about a bunch of stuff. He made it seem like he just went there to do something. Later on, he says he wanted to grab his things, his clothes or something, and it turned into, she's sleeping with another dude, and he ended up killing him. But, when he first tells us the story, he leaves out the fact that he came there with the gun. He shot the new boyfriend, right in the chest as soon as he got there, and then he got right up in his ex-girlfriend's face and just shot her in the face, threatening her the whole time. So, yeah, dude is a piece of filth, if you ask me at this point. So whatever happens to him, he probably deserves it. The ex-girlfriend, her son, this is the part that really pissed me off. Her son said that he agreed with what I just said. He was like, if whatever happens to Chuck, he deserves it for what happened. And Chuck's like, I wouldn't carry this much hate towards someone for this long. That's a little ridiculous. But you don't have the right to determine that. You are the person who is causing him to feel that way. You are the person who stole a human life. You are the person that made this decision to kill multiple people. You don't get to say, he's too hateful, he needs to let it go. No! You're an idiot! That was so stupid. That was some narcissistic, self-centered, high and mighty bullcrap coming out of his mouth right there. I can't believe he said that. I mean, I can kind of believe he said it. But still, the audacity. We like to talk about audacity here, and I'm not talking about the free audio editing software. I'm talking about moral aspects. Audacity. That would be like me stabbing you in the stomach, and you being mad, and me being like, oh, dude, that was like 5 minutes ago. Calm down. No. Shut up. Guys, when I watch these shows, they fire me up, and I just can't believe how certain people can just be the way they are. It boggles my mind completely. And yes, when the jury members were speaking to the camera, they explained, the factor of him hurting his girlfriend and then her dying in the hospital. Now, I would get it if she died because he shot her and she got rushed to the hospital and the doctors were doing everything they possibly could to save her, and it just wasn't enough. I could see where that would be on him. That would be on Chuck. Because what he did led to her being dead. Now, the whole thing with her suffocating because of the hospital staff, I do believe that's on the hospital. Yes, it's true that if Chuck hadn't shot her, she would never have been in that predicament in the first place. But there's also the matter, too, that she mentioned multiple times she needs to get rid of Chuck. She needs to get away from him. I think she kind of just let it boil a little too long, and then it got to this point where he just decided he was gonna do what he did. And there's a bit of some gray in there where it's like, oh, well, if she had just stayed broken up with him the first time, maybe he still would have came over and killed her anyway. I get it. That's true, too. But, I don't know. It seems like, in every case, there should be a clear-cut way that it should have happened. Now, if you're dating a guy, and you're on and off, and you know you should get rid of him, you know he's bad for you, you got friends telling you that he's a bad seed, he's a bad person, you know, it's like, I don't know where I heard it from, but the example was, robbery is an offense, robbery is bad, people who commit robbery and assault should go to jail and be punished. But at the same time, the guy who walks around the neighborhood waving his wallet above his head in a high crime neighborhood, you know, you're kind of asking for it. And am I saying that it's okay for people to get robbed? No, you shouldn't rob people. You shouldn't kill people. But at the same time, it's like, when you're continuously dating this guy and giving him chance after chance, oh, I know her friend claims that she said multiple times, I gotta get rid of him, I gotta just be done with him, blah, 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 blah. Well, then just be done with him, you know? And, okay, so here's the sad part. They broke up, got back together, broke up, got back together, supposedly, and then he did this thing that he did. That, I don't know that I have a whole lot of sympathy for her in that way. It's a shame that he killed her. It's a shame that she had to suffer that way. But, I mean, how am I supposed to feel about it when you've been given chance after chance? On the flip side, if she did break up with him and stay broken up with him the first time, and then he came back and did this anyway, that would be very tragic. Not that it isn't tragic already, but there'd be more sympathy from me to her in that regard. And I don't mean to de-victimize her. She definitely was a victim. She did not deserve what happened to her. I don't know. This episode really had me thinking about that kind of stuff. And bottom line, I do feel bad for what happened to her. I don't think she deserved all that. But it is kind of iffy that she wouldn't just kick this guy to the curb. I think Kai would agree with me too, because we talk about this all the time. People not, seeing red flags in their relationship. People not, putting their foot down when their partner acts dumb or is clearly a murderer or a criminal, and it's always a shame. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on this episode. This dude's a creep. I don't feel any sympathy for him. He knows what he did. He deserves what's coming to him. His ex-girlfriend, I do feel bad for. He should have kicked him to the curb a long time ago. Yeah, so great episode. I enjoyed this one. Again, it was a lot better than the previous episode. So until next time, folks, please go to patreon.com/loveofmurder. Please go to loveofmurder.com. Check out our SOS system and our merch. And lock your doors at night.